Arknights Endfield just dropped a crazy update or a tweet that turned into an update, whatever. Anyway, by the time you watch this video, the ticket should already be in the game or a couple other items. But point being is that we now have a 6-star selector to go along with the 40 pool. Is it 40? I think it's 40 or 50, something like that you're going to get in the game. Along with the 6-star selector, there's going to be a few different changes or updates that we're getting into the game, such as things with the AIC factory, quality of life changes, and combat, which I may or may not like this kind of stuff. Not entirely too sure, but that's not really what I want to talk to you guys today about. I'll leave a link to this if you need it in the description or in the pinned comment section. A lot of this stuff you can go over, and I'm sure a lot of other creators have already put out all the changes and future updates and like going over this kind of stuff, which normally I would do, but I kind of feel like we really don't need to focus on that right now. What's important is this, and the reason why I think this is important is similar to the previous video that I put out on my channel talking about Endfield, was like team building, right? And I'll go back and I'll re-reference something that I did with Pogranichnik that I am now more aware of. And I kind of like the way it is. I wasn't thinking about it before, but I spoke with Globa and I argued with Ren, and it helped me get to a different point. But it is what it is. Let's talk about these 5 characters right here. Ardelia, Pogranichnik, Last Rite, Ember, and Lifeng. I'm not entirely too sure how you pronounce his name, but you're gonna want to decide between one of these characters, or, and I'll go ahead and tell you guys the third option right now. The third option is to just save it. You can hold on to this ticket if you're familiar with Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves did this thing, I think, around this time when the game launched for them too. And for me personally, I held on to my ticket until the very last day that it was required to be used because I just didn't have a need for it. Now, you might ask yourself why. Well, in this case, right, I have 5 headhunting tickets, and you see that I'm 30 attempts away from getting a 6-star. So once we get this ticket later on today, by the time of me recording this video, I'm gonna hold on to this until I get this 6-star from whatever this is gonna be. Because let's say that I use my 6-star my ticket and I get Last Rite, like I used it for Last Rite, but then I end up rolling a 30 and I get another Last Rite. I'd be very upset with that because I really don't need Constellation in this game. C1 Ardelia is a great pickup. You're gonna hear a lot of people tell you to go for this Constellation. It's cool, it's really strong. We can kind of go in order too, right? And we'll talk about C1 because I'm already here. So Ardelia, everyone gets this character for free along with her weapon. So there's absolutely very little reason, almost no reason for you to even use this to pick up the character. But if we come over here, which we can see right here is going to be her P1. Battle skill Dolly Rush is going to get improved. It's going to consuming corrosion is now going to apply physical susceptibility and arts susceptibility. So this is going to be for your arts damage. So like anyone that's using electro, or technically physical counts too, but whatever. Does it count? Let me actually double check that. Let me not lie to you. I lied to you. No. Yeah, I'm right. Look, frick. I didn't. I lied. I didn't mean to lie. Physical is its own thing, which is why it's split up. Heat, electro, cryo, and nature. Anything that's an elemental based. Physical is natural. It's neutral. That's probably a better way to say that. It's going to be neutral. Okay, so physical susceptibility and everything else, which is really good because it combines with everything else that's already in her kit. Again, everyone is going to get this weapon for free. So let's go to where we are down here, right? You get arts damage taken against whatever enemy is suffering from corrosion by a plus 28%, right? So again, the electro, the cryo, or anything like that, anything that consumes arts damage or uses arts damage, another increase by 28%, really good. Then she also gets her own secondary attribute plus 44%, right? Like this weapon is just free. There's no reason not to have it. They give it to you for free. Go ahead and give it to her. Her own kit being corrosion, having its already susceptibility being applied to it as well. It gets increased even further. It's just a nice stat stick, right? And so this kind of goes into why I'm saying like you don't really need potentials in this game. It's just nice if you happen to get it, that's cool, but you don't really need potentials. At base, every character is going to perform exactly how they need to perform in the game. That's what I really like about Arknights, but that's kind of the only reason you would go for a C1 Ardelia in the event you're looking for that. Let's move on to Ember. Ember is a weird case. Ember is really cool. I love this character's design a lot. Would I use my ticket on Ember? Probably not. There is a certain scenario that I would use my ticket on Ember, and that's if I wanted to play a team specifically with Ember. Now you can use the fire team, pyro, fusion, whatever we're calling it here, burn. You could use that for Ember, right? If you wanted to. You don't have to. What I'm more looking at would probably be something with Pogranichnik or even using Inman. And what I'm getting at here is that Ember actually is really cool, similar to, if you watch my previous video, you heard me talk very highly of Estella. Estella is a cryo character, but she also applies physical statuses, just like we see here with Ember. So Ember is going to apply knockdown, not on just her battle skill, but also on her combo skill, right? Which is really good. She still applies heat damage, so she's going to be able to help out with that. And she's going to be able to provide a shield for the entire team. So she's a sustained character, as well as being able to apply the vulnerability stacks. And so if you just want a more creative team, it's not the strongest team, but it is very creative and it's still very effective. You can combine burn and physical into one team, and then they'll be able to essentially give you two different elements. And this is kind of getting towards what my team thing was talking about before, where I understand mono teams or mono elements are going to be really strong, you know, for any like simplistic reasons, of course. But I think over the course of time, especially with the evolution of how gacha games work, we're gonna see this dual element style thing or multi-element teams really start to take shine, because a lot of the combinations of elements really do have different they have certain effects that just make certain fights better or worse. I don't even want to say worse, just more comfortable, but it is what it is, right? Out of all of them, I would probably say that Ember has the lowest for you to be able to use your ticket, the lowest value. Me personally, I'd say C1 Ardelia has the lowest value, but again, I'm different. I'm only saying this simply because of the fact that no one needs C1 Ardelia. Is it strong? Sure. But are we at a point in the game right now where you need C1 Ardelia? No, we're not. Base Ardelia does everything that she needs to for any given team perfectly fine. She works with every single team in the game perfectly fine, and you get her weapon for free, which you can't say for all the other characters. So if you really did want to just experiment or play with a different team, it's probably okay to use it for Ember, because you're going to get something else later on. Now, moving away from Ember, we could talk about Last Rite, because I know a lot of people are going to recommend Last Rite. She is currently, I believe, what did Rin tell me? A top 3 DPS, and probably the strongest DPS in the game that's not a limited character. Limited being obviously Yvonne, which is stronger than Last Rite, and Levitane, which of course is stronger than Last Rite. And so at that point, I do believe Last Rite is probably just number 3, right? Top 3 DPS. I don't know the official numbers behind that, and I'm not entirely too sure if this is counting like all enemies or, you know, single target enemies, right? Only single target, she's top 3 versus AoE, Pogranichnik might be top 3, whatever, anything like that. It's all up in the air. But point being is that she's up there. Now, me personally, I'm not using my ticket on Last Rite. I'm just not. You really got to convince me to use my ticket on Last Rite. Now, the reason for that is because I think this character is easily one of the most clunky characters to play in the entire game. I don't like her. Even with the combination of using the animation cancels to make her faster, I still think her animations overall are just super clunky. Now, she reminds me of like Monster Hunter Freedom, which is it's not the first Monster Hunter, first one that I played, but I think it's like technically it's the second Monster Hunter, but whatever. The first one was on PS2 if I'm not mistaken. She reminds me of Monster Hunter Original Greatsword. The thing was trash. All right, it's so slow, it's so clunky, and you really have to be like, I love using big heavy weapons, slow attack, big damage. You have to be into that in order to truly appreciate that type of weapon. You know, obviously later on we get way better greatsword animations, and it feels a lot smoother to play in Monster Hunter games, and I feel like that might happen too with a different character, just not Last Rite. But if you're looking for damage, looking for one of the prettiest gals in the entire game, so cute, I do love Last Rite as a character, go for Last Rite. You can't go wrong. She has a lot of free options, which you guys can actually see that here. I think I have all the characters that would be on her team. Alish, Stella, you have Jaihi, which is going to be very good for you. You could even use Snowshine. Of course, you have Fluorite, which is going to work for both nature and for your ice teams, very good. And so you can kind of go from that, right? All of these characters are really good. You could even use, which if I'm not mistaken, I think the team does, the new best Last Rite team does include Perlica, if I'm not mistaken, which we of course get for free. She's the first character that we actually do get after Inman. So this could be very beneficial for you to use as well if you wanted to go down that route. Right now, the game doesn't have a lot of characters. There's not really a lot to stress over. It really just comes down to like building your account. And what I will say is that with the headhunt that we go back to here, with the combination of them giving us this extra 6-star selector ticket from the basic headhunting banner, this can help you complete a team, or it can help you start a second team. And this, of course, obviously depends on if you even went for Levitane. If you didn't go for Levitane, my bad, if you did go for Levitane, right at this current moment in time, you probably have 3 teams, right? You have the ability to make 3 teams. If you saved and you're going for Yvonne or Gilberta, you're looking around like still 2 teams. Maybe even 1 team, right? Again, depending on what you're doing, but it depends on whether or not you save. That's what I'm trying to say. But we talked about Last Rite, we talked about Ardelia, we talked about Ember. Next character is kind of like a combo character, okay? Pogranichnik and Lifeng, or Lifeng, I think that's how you pronounce it, but both of these 2 characters, okay? Now, Pogranichnik that's my guy, all right? He performs, as I'm learning, he performs as a excellent main DPS character, but also not so much a sub DPS, but an enabler, right? And so what he's able to do is enable someone else, or rather the entire team, to do even more physical damage while also outputting a significant amount of damage by himself. And so you're going to want to be able to build teams with him. I am going to correct what I said in the last video because now I understand how this works. I was still right in the sense of like breach consumes vulnerability stacks just like consume, but breach, when you stack it out, lasts anywhere between 24 to 30 seconds. 24 seconds is for 3 stacks, 30 seconds is for 4 stacks, which you guys can see this right here. You won't be able to see the numbers of like how long it lasts, but if you want something like that, Woba has a chart that tells you everything. I'm probably not going to splash it in here because I'm lazy and I don't want to edit it. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'm telling you the numbers. That's what they are, okay? Believe it, look it up for yourself just to double confirm, but that is what it is. And so ideally what you want to do is you want to start your combo. The first rotation, you breach. And then the second rotation, we'll go over here and I'll show you guys real quick. The second rotation, you are going to consume breach for crush. Right? I know I'm saying it a little weird, but basically you're going to use crush, which is going to take everything, all the vulnerability stacks. And because breach is also applied, which breach gives them a specifically a physical susceptibility damage, right? Like they take extra physical damage separate from the physical susceptibility that Lifeng would put on them, right? Or anybody else on the team. Then you crush for way bigger damage. So yes, you can play Pogranichnik and Inman, or you can play Pogranichnik and Depan, but you really don't want to use Depan and Inman because they're just kind of crushing off of each other. It's really weird. But anyway, that being the case, right? And you have like the physical team here, which I do have: Chin, Pogranichnik, Estella, and Alish. What I'm doing with my ticket is I'm going to actually be grabbing Lifeng. I'm going to replace Lifeng with probably Alish, maybe Estella, not entirely too sure. This will essentially give me the premier team so that I can run mono physical. Now, I don't need to run mono physical because I do like this team that I'm running right now, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? And so now we go back into Headhunt. Let me talk about this a little bit longer here when it comes to these type of characters, right? We talked about Pog. Pog is a character that you're going to want to pick up if you really want to touch toes inside of the physical team. If you want to play the physical team, which everyone has access to because you have Chin for free and you have Inman for free, but you don't necessarily need Pogranichnik. Let's say that you really wanted to focus on Inman. You're already building in a Chin and you don't really care about breach. Like breach is whatever, right? Lifeng might be the better pickup for you. This character is basically the premier physical debuffer, right? You see he has knockdown. He's going to apply that vulnerability. If they don't have vulnerability, he's going to stack it on them anyway. And he gives them physical susceptibility, right? So like, this is really cool. He has combo skills that also do the same thing, and they activate whenever somebody gets breached or physical susceptibility. Got a pretty low cooldown as well, being 15 seconds, which helps out for working with Pogranichnik, right? Boom. So that's kind of how that goes from there. And then of course his ultimate being able to do the same thing with knockdown, and more importantly is that his ultimate applies Link. So Link, as you guys can see right here, the next battle skill or ultimate that you use is going to increase the damage by a large amount. You can't stack it. All right, you can stack it. Effects of the same type can stack, but you don't have multiple links, not right now, right? So you're really only concerned with the one link right now, unless somehow you can just spam ultimates. It is what it is, but you kind of go from there, okay? So this is a great character to put on your team. And if I were in the position of somebody starting out and you're kind of looking for what you want to do, excuse me, I would probably say if I really wanted to complete the physical team, which everyone has access to, Lifeng would be my second most valuable pickup right now. If I care, or my first most valuable pickup would be Lifeng. If I didn't care about the physical team and I wanted to build into an ice team, like I just wanted a really strong DPS, you know, the strongest that we have right now, that's not a limited character, I would go for Last Rite. I don't like Last Rite, but a lot of you guys do like Last Rite, and she is a valuable pickup. My third pickup would be Pogranichnik. Now, the conditions of me grabbing Pogranichnik over Lifeng is I already have Lifeng, right? Like I already have this character, so then I'm gonna go for Pog. If you have Pog, and I'll talk about that one more, hold on. That would be that. Ember would be my fourth pickup, just to fill the roster. You know, you never know. She might become cracked later on. She might get a new weapon or a new teammate, something that makes her even stronger, who knows? And then my final pick would be Ardelia. Again, simply because of the fact that we just don't need constellations. We don't need copies of characters in this game right now. C1 is, or P1 is amazing. Don't get me wrong, right? If you want to go for it, it's a great pickup. I'm not saying any of these options are bad. I'm just saying that because we get her complete kit for free, it's kind of using your ticket for a waste, right? Like you just want a little bit of extra power, but you don't need that extra power right now, right? It's like if I were playing Zenless and I day one got an M6 Miyabi, but nothing in the game required me to have an M6 Miyabi, right? Like everything dies to M0 Miyabi? Why do I have M6? It's kind of like that. Like now, if I had M6 Miyabi, it'd be a little different. Anyway, last thing that I want to talk about here for you guys is quite literally like scenarios on what you would want to pull and why. I'm going to ignore Ardelia for just a little bit here, and we're only going to talk about like physical for the most part. I kind of talked about it in a bit, but I do want to say this for the sake of like what I'm doing, not what I'm doing. I mean, I'm doing it, but that's not what I mean. The example that I gave earlier with the physical team, I already have Pog. So naturally, my best pickup would be to go for Lifeng. Even like the only reason I don't go for Lifeng is if I pull him in this next 30, or I really just want last right. Let's say that I know I don't want to play with maybe Chin, right? Or I'm using Chin and Inmin on a completely different team, and I just want 2 physical teams. I don't know. Then you go for Ember, because the fire team for Lifeng really just doesn't need Ember. Now, I guess you could use her if you're taking a lot of damage, if you're being attacked a lot, and you just kind of like don't want to dodge. Sure, you can go for Ember, and that would be the case for that. Or in the case of I'm not going to pull Yvonne. I know for a fact I'm skipping everyone until we see like the 4th limited character coming out, or I already have Lifeng, but I want an ice damage coverage, right? I want ice damage and I want to cover that. Go for last right. And then that's kind of it. You know what I mean? Now, if you happen to have all the characters, you just happen to get these characters for free, whatever, then start looking at constellations. And by that point, then yeah, C1 Ardelia would be your best bet. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Okay, I know this was a little bit of a long-winded thing, but I really just want to get these opinions out there. And it's not so much of like, I don't want you guys to take this as like, you should pull this, you should pull that. But I just want to be able to maybe open how you think about your own account so that you're more knowledgeable about why you decide what you do, because the ticket is for you. It's not for me. It's not for the person in the comments. It's not for the other content creators. It's not for another streamer, right? It's for you. Whatever you want to do with your ticket, go ahead and do that. But know what you're getting yourself into. You know what I mean? Like if everyone says like, yo, last right, top priority, and you pull last right, but you have absolutely no units to pull last right or to use her with, you can't build the team. Well, in layman's terms, you wasted your ticket. Or if you go for Ember because she's hot, but then you realize, dang, I really don't like the way she plays. Like, I hate this character. You wasted your ticket. Or you go for C1 Ardelia, but then 2 weeks later, you drop Ardelia for Gilberta. Well, you wasted your ticket. So it is what it is. Anyhow, I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Smell you later.